Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Storytime. In this episode we're going to be looking at the subreddit r/prorevenge, so sit back, relax and enjoy some funny stories. Background: this happened nearly 3 years back. In high school I had a job at a classic car dealership that I loved and it was a great place to work, but the shop at the time did not have a general manager, so the owner employed the help of someone local who is known to be a crook and overall has a very bad reputation. Let's call this guy Mr. Smith and his nephew John. At this car dealership, there were only around 7 workers, and though I had a low-level position there, everyone was very close and treated each other as family. Plus, working around classic muscle cars, it was the perfect job for me as a high school kid. The shop was falling under a bit of a hard time from what I heard, so the owner employed the new general manager, Mr. Smith, to help him in the running of the shop. The owner told me that the manager was to only run the service section, and that he would not mess with the showroom where I worked. The first day, with no introduction, he walks up and tells me to pull a car out of the showroom so he can take it for a drive. I go along playfully and say, "Yes sir, I'll gas it up and bring that Camaro out to you. I'll bring that Corvette out too so you can try them both." I thought he was just a customer playing with me, joking about taking one of the cars home, as often happened, and I did not know this man was my new manager. After about another hour of work and going on to do other things, Mr. Smith walks into the showroom and begins tearing into me like I have never been before. Me, still unaware that he was my manager or even worked there. I was loved in the shop and always worked hard, so getting chastised at work for being lazy and stupid really took me off my feet. It was at that point I got a warning of things to come, and my workplace quickly became a hellscape where I wanted to quit every day. Also, his nephew needed a job and would talk about how if he started working there, he would take my place. My mission was set. I went to school with Mr. Smith's little nephew, who I was not friends with, but definitely more than acquaintances. Had the same lunch period as me at school. I made extra effort to go see him every lunch and be as charming as possible, especially when John's girlfriend was around. Slowly but surely, I strengthened my friendship with both of them. John would usually drive his girlfriend Lily home after school. Soon, John began talking about his uncle working with me at this car shop and that he would try and come there so he could be a detailer. My job. I didn't want this by any circumstance, and now I'm really on a mission. John said one day to his girlfriend that he couldn't give her a ride home because something had come up. Go time. "Hey, Lily, if he can't give you a ride home, I can drop you off. I'm going that way anyway." This trip was 20 minutes out of my way, to which she obliged, and I drove her home, with the boyfriend's go-ahead, making the normal, semi-flirty, but not overzealous talk. Well, on one of our rides home, she'd revealed to me that her boyfriend would sometimes hide talking to other girls, and how he had snuck out to a party with them previous times, and she didn't know what to do. Boyfriend revealed to me he had been cheating. I worked my agenda subtly in the conversation that maybe you two aren't working out for each other. She revealed on another ride home that they had broken up for good, but were still friends. This is when I decided to tell her how sweet and beautiful she was. And through all the time her boyfriend was trying to get her back, I was creeping into the boyfriend position. A knockout date later, and some more shared feelings, me and Lily began officially dating. John was angry at me, but would never confront me and stopped trying to come work for my shop. Back at the shop, on another fateful day, we had to deliver a car for paint work. Standard procedure was one person drives the car going to paint and another drives their own car to pick it up. Well, the car in question was a new Dodge Viper, so Mr. Smith insisted on driving it, and I hopped in Mr. Smith's truck to follow him. As we get to the main road where I am supposed to be following the manager to the paint shop, the gas on the car goes, and he begins weaving in and out of traffic at extremely high speed. He's gone from my vision in the next 10 seconds. Nonetheless, I find my way there where he is bragging to the paint shop guys about how he did 150 miles an hour on the main road. Here's the kicker. This was no ordinary shop. It turns out this was his shop. I wanted to return to work, but the manager just wouldn't come back. Instead of the manager returning to the place he was employed at, he proceeded to spend the next 2 hours running his paint shop, and even put me to work there on my boss's dime. It was closing time when we returned, and that was that. It turns out the manager had been reporting his hours 7 to 6 every day, making full salary, but was almost never there because he was running his own shop whilst getting paid to run ours. We were clueless that he had a paint shop, and of the many cars that needed bodywork, they surprisingly all got sent to his shop, and he could post the bill at whatever price he wanted because he was the one writing the checks to his own shop for work. Me and the owner had a very close like friend relationship, so I talked to him and told him I needed to quit and that this place just wasn't for me anymore. I was his favourite employee and this made him very upset, but nonetheless I left and that was that. Before I left though, I made sure I had my trap set. I left notes on the service desk saying Red Cheval needs to go to Mr. Smith's shop so he can work on it, and things of the various nature. I talked to the boss in passing conversation. "Oh, you didn't know it's his paint shop? It's super cool, you should check it out." I was only unemployed there for a month. The owner knew I was quitting because of management. 2 other mechanics I was friends with stopped showing up for work the day before as well, without quitting notice or goodbye. In my stint unemployed, and due to the dimes I dropped, the owner had found out what Mr. Smith was doing, and that he was making over $400,000 a year playing us. The owner offered for me to come back to the shop, and I told him I couldn't because I was doing mobile detail work now, and for less than $15 an hour, I couldn't justify coming back to my original $9 an hour. This was true, but I still wanted to work there, and would have worked for less than I was making. Before I knew it, I had my job back with a $6 an hour raise, and Mr. Smith was forced to go back to the paint shop, which went out of business about 2 months later without our business. He had to sell his Cadillac and the shop. Fun fact, even later he got in a hot lawsuit because he made money on the side restoring cars for people. He would take in a car, sell the whole car, and report it stolen or sell the parts that came off it to fund his other projects. Me and his nephew's ex have been dating for 2 years and are moving in together. I have no complaints about her and will be considering a ring this year. The family still curses my name to this day. Is it just me that thinks that the girlfriend bit was a bit irrelevant to the story and he kinda just manipulated her, but I guess that's Reddit for you. Well, that does it for this episode of r/prorevenge. I hope you're all having a really good day and that you enjoyed that story. If you're new around here, go check out our other videos which are on screen right now.